guys, welcome back to the show. You know who I am. I'm Heather Chauvin, and today we have a very special guest, Bryan. Welcome, Bryan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Bryan Chauvin, my husband, who's been on the podcast 2 times before, and the new host of Dad is in Control.
Yeah.
So last time you were on, we kind of hinted about Dad is in Control, and you were starting your own Facebook group, but now you have your own podcast.
I do. We're 6 episodes deep right now.
Awesome. So welcome to the podcasting community.
It's a lot harder than I thought.
Told ya. So I have a question for you. I wanted to talk to you today about leaving your husbands behind.
I don't think I have that problem.
I wanted to talk about leaving your husband behind. A lot of the women that I work with and speak to in my community, when we get right to the core of it, sometimes we want to hold ourselves back from growth because we're afraid that our husbands and partners won't come along with us for the journey. And I thought you had a really good perspective on this, and I wanted to talk about it today.
Years when you decided that you wanted to quit your job. And you asked to have a conversation about it. And we were in the living room and we talked about how unhappy you were at your job and how you wanted to make a change. Yeah. And at that conversation, that started the snowball rolling down the hill. You started going down this rabbit hole of personal growth very fast.
You know what the interesting thing is? In that moment, that wasn't the moment when I was like, crap, if I grow, Bryan's not going to come with me. That was, in that moment, it was more of like do or die. Like, if I don't get out of this career, I'm going to lose my mind. I wasn't thinking about you at that time.
No, you weren't. But in that moment when we decided that we could make this work, you started to change. You gave your 2 weeks notice, whatever, and then finally the day came, you quit, you were done, and then all of a sudden you're happier and you're starting to change and you're looking into things and you're making stuff happen within your freedom, your time freedom. Mm-hmm. And I was going to work 60 hours a week and I was grinding and doing my thing and kind of watching from the sidelines.
What were you watching?
The changes. Here you are at home, putting the kids on the bus, taking them off the bus, doing your thing, kind of like what you want, when you want, and you're happy. And then the next conversation was, honey, I want to hire a coach.
Mm-hmm. What was that conversation like?
That one was like, you had all of your research done and you had this person that you wanted to invest in, and it was a substantial amount of money, and it involved a trip. And I remember the conversation saying, I won't be able to help you with this. This is above what I can provide financially. And you were sure of yourself that I can make this happen. Mm-hmm. And you did. And you remember that trip?
Oh, it was awful. No, it was a great trip, but it was awful. I remember Calvin, who's like 8 now, was like a baby, like 3, 4, 6 months or something. Mm-hmm. And I was either still breastfeeding or weaning off or something. And all parts of me had to go. And, I don't even think we told like your parents. Like, we didn't tell anybody because I was so ashamed of leaving him. And you said, just go, just go, just go. And I got there and I remember doing yoga with these women, feeling like so depleted. And I had like the grossest clothes on because I didn't even go shopping. I don't even know how I got there, to be honest with you. And I started bawling my eyes out. And I remember calling you at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something, just crying on the beach. And I don't even remember what I said to you.
I don't remember the conversation on the phone. I remember having the conversation. But I remember what happened later on that day when you called me and you said, this is where I needed to be. So that growth, I mean, and when we look, that started a long time ago. And it wasn't till now, in the past year, where I started to take this journey, maybe a year and a half, when I started to make these improvements. So I was that far behind you, watching you climb this mountain.
You know what's really weird is you've said this to me multiple times, like, Heather, you started this process so much, like, so long ago that let me just wait, like, let me catch up. And I'm always like, no, just go now, like, hurry up. But not realizing that I started like 5 years before you started to get the little light bulb of, like, maybe I'm willing to crack open a journal.
Yeah. So
Are all men like this?
I think it's not so much.
Slow
I think
and
it's not.
steady.
It's not so much all men, but it takes one. It takes one person to start in the relationship, and if it's the wife or the husband, and it's holding you back from your own growth, don't wait. Have a conversation with your husband, and say, "Hey, I want to do this." And so he's going to be watching from the sidelines. He's going to see what you're doing. And all of a sudden, you're going to start getting happier. And things are going to flow and things are going to be happening in your life. And he's going to be taking note of this. And eventually, it's going to start interesting him.
But do you think there's there's men that are not willing to do this work?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure there's women that are not willing to do this work. Like, it goes both hands.
Right.
Ways.
I think, yes. The big question in my mind is, any husband that's in this relationship, if you come to him and you have this conversation that I'm not happy with who I am or whatever the situation is, and you have this powerful conversation, what man would deprive their wife of this change? Who wouldn't support you?
Okay, so for me, it's probably easier for me because I've always been a very open person. So for me to come to you and say, I want to do this, or I have a crazy idea, what do you think? That's not hard for me to do. But vice versa, I think it's very hard for you, or would have been previously, for you to communicate that to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never struggled with that.
You've never struggled with that, no. But
I know a lot of women that do.
right. But I think that if you truly value what is going on inside of you, if you really know that there's something that's not right or there's something that you want to change, your spouse, your teammate, your partner, they should want to have you improve this. They should want to help you make this change. And
like, if you're married to this person or you're in a committed relationship with them, like, this is part of a relationship, is having vulnerable conversations.
yeah.
And human beings grow and change. So as a person who finds it difficult to communicate what is going on inside of you, what advice do you have for the person that is listening going, I want change. I'm not happy with our relationship. I'm not happy with the house that we live in, where we live. I want to go on vacation. I want to live a different life, and I want to do it with my partner, but I want to make sure that my partner knows that I don't want a divorce. I just want to grow with them. How do they start to communicate this to their partner?
I think the biggest part of that is scheduling time. Start by asking your partner, hey, I want to have a powerful conversation with you. When can we do this? Now, in our household, it can't be anywhere past 9 o'clock, or it can't be too early in the morning, because if I'm hungry or I'm tired, it's impossible. So you have to physically make time where it's just you guys, no phones, no kids, nothing, and have a conversation, a direct and vulnerable conversation.
So So even if you're both busy working, it's like, okay, we're meeting for lunch or something like that. Like you have to make it a priority. Like it's a very important job, career, like, your boss wants to see you, like that type, or, you're going to the doctors. Like it needs to become a priority for you. If your relationship is a priority, having those uncomfortable conversations is a priority.
You don't even have to make it about your relationship. It could be just about you. Like if you're miserable in your job, right? I mean, it doesn't just say, somebody I look up to talks about extreme ownership, owning the problem. The problem doesn't, the part of the problem is the guy's going to get defensive because he thinks he's part of the problem. Whereas if you approach it differently, you make it a different what am I trying to say? A different reaction from your husband. Now, with that being said, you have to put your own stories behind you and not worry about what thoughts he's going to say this and he's going to say this, because these stories are just that. They're lies. They don't exist. You don't know what he's going to say. You might say, honey, I'm not happy with the way I look. Honey, I'm not happy with the way I feel. Honey, I'm not happy with this. And he says, yeah, maybe I noticed this. Maybe your husband noticed this and he's too afraid to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I think yes, men and women, the more I learn about us is we think very, very differently, and that's okay. Oh God, I don't understand you. So this is what I don't get. We marry these people. We have babies with these people. We share lives and bank accounts with these people. Why do women feel that they need to play small when there's sometimes a codependency on men? Like, I can't make my own money. I can't go after my dreams. I can't, my job is to cook and clean and take care of the children.
Those expectations kill relationships.
Do you think a woman can have a purpose outside of parenting?
Of course. I think the silent expectations of the 1940s and 50s and 60s need to go. Because, look at our household. Mm-hmm. A lot of the odd jobs around the house are done by me, cleaning and some of that stuff. You're
very domesticated.
Yeah. But I have more time.
I do too. I just pretend that I don't because I don't want to do it. So this is my point. Why do women still carry this baggage of it's my job to take care of all the kids' stuff? And to be fair and honest, not all men are as balanced and equal and co-parenting as you. Where some men are like, nope, I'm making the money, you take care of the kids, I'm out of here. What's your perspective on that? I'm very stereotypical right now.
I think it just comes down to communication and planning. There's got to be, so if both people are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and one person is doing the lion's share of the work at home, that's not fair. Right? So if we're both working 20, 30, 40 hours a week, and then I come home and sit on the couch and you come home and cook, clean, and do laundry and take care of the kids, we shouldn't be married. Because you're going to leave me because I'm a douchebag.
Talk about some of the things you've read in some dad groups.
Oh.
So you have your Dad is in Control group. Sorry, not Dad is. Yeah, Dad is in Control. I keep thinking of Mom's in Control. Dad is in Control Facebook group. And it's very small and you're just starting it. And it's very personal development oriented. But you've been hanging around in some other dad groups. You don't have to name what they're called. But you're laughing hysterically at some of the comments that these men make about their wives.
I don't even want to get in there. You know what? There are a lot of crazy people out there that say crazy things just to troll people on the internet,
No,
I
but
think.
say one thing, and it was like about a man and the housework and how his wife was bitching that he doesn't do enough around the house.
Well, I was reading a comment from a guy in a group that was talking about, I work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and I come home and I just want to lay on the couch and relax, but my wife is nagging me to do housework and participate and do this and that. And he was almost looking for,
Validation or something.
yeah, he was looking for the guys of the group to say. And what he didn't say in his comment was, does his wife work? Is she stay at home? Even if she is, if they have kids, and maybe she doesn't want to clean. My comment to him was, hire a cleaning lady.
Or man.
Well, yeah. If you don't want to cook and clean, and your wife doesn't want to, hire it out. Problem solved. Have the conversation. At least you can have the conversation. If you live with this person and you love this person and you're, like you said before, why won't you just have the goddamn conversation?
So why is it easier for people to bitch about something rather than have the uncomfortable conversation? Because what I find really annoying is behavior is a language, right? And I'm not very naggy, am I?
No, not really.
Are you just trying to be nice?
Not really.
But you call me out on it.
Oh, yeah.
We just had a conversation about how annoying I am when I want something.
Yes.
But we don't argue. We don't have fights.
No, but
We don't ever argue or yell at each other.
we communicate and we plan a lot more than most families do, I think.
Yeah. You and I are not like fist fighters. Like we don't argue and yell and scream, but I used to be more naggy. And I was more naggy because I was projecting and blaming a lot on you.
Yeah.
Because I was angry, right? It's the same, that's what we do. It's called the drama triangle. It's like you project and you persecute. It's like, it's all your fault, it's all your fault, it's all your fault. But really, we need to have those conversations with people and go, okay, this system isn't working, right?
I think what happens in most households, it becomes suppressed. And you push it back and you push it back and you push it back and you suck it up until it blows up. And once it blows up, that's when the true feelings come out because you're angry and you're not afraid. Well, I've been unhappy about this for 4 years and blah, blah, blah. Well, what, if you've been unhappy about this for so long, why am I just hearing about it?
So can you talk a little bit about extreme ownership? Because I think you understand this concept now because you've invested a lot in your own personal development, like, having mentors and like doing the work. But it wasn't that easy for you. Like, I've noticed a big change in you in the last year. But before that, oh my fuck, I wanted to punch you in the face.
So I think part of...
I love how you just totally blow off
There's-
that comment.
There's a lot of extreme ownership that applies everywhere. But the lion's share that I utilize the most is... if I'm trying to explain a problem, I can't physically go to you and say, you forgot to shut the fridge door. It's, honey, maybe I forgot to remind you that we have to shut the fridge door after blah, blah, blah. But it's really taking ownership of the issue because if I'm...
I know what you mean. It's example about what you were talking about, that man, right? Working so much and then getting wanting to come home and lay on the couch. If he was taking extreme ownership, he would have said, "Let's talk about this. What can we do? I'll help you out today, and then I think we need to get somebody in so that it's we relieve stress on both of us." If she was taking extreme ownership, she wouldn't be nagging him because she probably would have hired somebody already, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or he would have hired somebody already, or they would have talked about it. So both people in the partnership need to take extreme ownership for their actions, for their thoughts, and for all of that fun stuff. But I was like, I just want you to admit something. Who do you think, so in the last year, you've talked about how you invested in your own personal development. I've seen an extreme black and white night and day from you. Who were you that man before? Because you're starting to work with these types of men now. Because we'll talk about that now in a little bit, about the whole kick off the couch thing that you got going on. But who were you that man before? Were you sleepwalking? Were you like overwhelmed? What was going on inside your brain?
I think...
Because you were driving me fucking nuts.
I think it was autopilot. I think it was just like, push the cruise button and let's go. Because the money was in the bank account and the bills were getting paid and was content.
But there's no zest. There's no zest for life. Were you okay? Were you content with that?
Yeah.
Why?
Because my world was good. My world, as far as I was concerned, my priorities were being met.
But then what made you change?
I got to kick off the couch.
But why did you change? So if you were content and your world was fine, then why were you motivated to change?
I don't remember the exact reason, but I got to looking around and seeing all of the things that I was missing out on. And looking at our youngest one, Felix, and watching them get on the bus and, having to take time off of work to go bring somebody a lunch because they forgot their lunch at school. And I think that kind of disappointed me because I had to take time off work. I had to get permission to go and take care of my kids. I shouldn't need permission. I should just be able to go.
Do you remember last summer, I think you took 3 weeks off in July? And I said, this is going to be your trial.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like, what was that like?
I sat by the pool a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You literally like swam with the kids and just like played with them. But I could tell you were like binging on fatherhood.
Throughout the last number of years, I missed out on putting them on the bus, taking them off the bus, and the little things.
Okay, can I ask you something?
What?
Do you think all men want to be fathers?
No.
Is that okay?
Yeah. But if they have kids, they should want to be a father.
But what if they don't?
If they don't have kids?
No, what if they have children, but they don't show up as a father? They just have no interest in it. Their wife does all the work and it's working for them.
But the wife does all the work, she enables it.
Yeah.
And she hasn't had the conversation because she's afraid to have the conversation.
What do you think extreme ownership is in fatherhood?
I don't know if extreme ownership's the right word, but if you're man enough to have kids and to put kids on this planet with somebody, you should be man enough to be with them and have fun with them and teach them and show them and provide experiences for them. And that doesn't mean immaculate vacations and rides in Gulfstream jets. That means like, let's have a campfire and roast marshmallows. Let's go for a walk on the beach. Let's chase birds. Let's whatever.
Let's talk. Let's go get ice cream. Like it's the little things. So all of those things, watching you with our boys, 99.9% what you have done with our children, I have never done with my own father.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. It's not so much a learned trait. And a lot of guys will say, I never learned this. My dad never taught me this. My parents this or my parents that. Well, if it's a thought in your mind, if it's a desire, if it's something that you can learn about, or it's something that your kids care about, you should include yourself. Whether it's coaching hockey or soccer, just get involved.
Okay. So I'm over here listening to these women who will say to me, I'm doing it all. I'm doing it all by myself. My husband travels a lot for work. Or my husband works just the same amount that I do, and I have to do it all. I think women put way too much on their plate without asking for any help, which we've discussed during this podcast. You need to have those hard conversations. What do we do when we're in a very vulnerable situation? And to get back to this whole topic of afraid to grow because we're going to leave people behind. Because you and I are growing at very rapidly different paces. Now I feel like we're on the same road, but like, you know, I'm driving a Lamborghini and you're on a bicycle. I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
Your fucking bike, one of the tires is flat.
I think. Wow.
I'm so nice. I'm just kidding.
I think that in this case, you've had the conversations. Don't wait. Don't wait for the world to move for you. Just start doing what it is that brings you joy. And after time...
So you do what brings you joy, and then you piss your husband off, and he's like, fuck you, I'm out of here?
But that's not... If that has to happen, then that has to happen. But your own personal development, your own happiness isn't worth hanging in a marriage that's not going anywhere. If he's not going to support you, if he's not going to be with you, if he's not willing, fuck him.
Does she need to support him?
Well, that depends. Like...
Do you, Bryan Chauvin, need to sacrifice your soul and your desires to make me happy so that I can go do whatever I want to do?
No.
Good.
Not at all.
I think it just gets to the point of having those conversations.
It really boils down to drop your stories and the things you're telling yourself that your husband's going to say. Because maybe he does legitimately travel 300 days a year for work. Well, if he's traveling that much, then he can afford to give you some support. Because you shouldn't be holding the lion's share of that work, because it's a lot of work. Maintaining a household, running a household without another person.
You know what the interesting part of that is? If you put that workload on somebody in a employment position, that would be illegal.
Yeah.
That person would have a whole team around them.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of crap that we hold on to. A lot of stories that we hold on to as women. I need to do it all. If I ask for help, I'm selfish. If I hire help, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? Let's talk about what it is to get a kick off the couch.
Ooh. I like it. So, I have developed a customized intensive for men that want to get back in the game, but don't really know how.
So this all started because you started your group,
Yep.
right? You were like, I want to start my own group. So you started your Dad is in Control group, and you've been having one-on-one conversations with men all over the globe, and you're hearing the exact same thing, right? So what are some of the struggles and challenges that these men are coming to you with and telling you that they're experiencing?
Some of the guys are talking about communication. They don't know how to communicate their emotions. Some of them are talking about work-life balance. Some of them are talking about physical problems. But I mean, most of them fall within, the four spectrums. Some of them want to learn how to be more responsible with money. But I mean, it's all falls within four or five categories.
Mm-hmm. And so after you're having these conversations with them, well, obviously you and I were talking, you're like, how can I support these people? I'm like, just start offering really great value for a fraction of the price, like to get started,
yeah.
Right? And so you created a kick off the couch session, which I thought was a really cool name. And what was the whole intention behind that? Like, what do you want to help these men do?
I remember being that guy that was sedated on the couch, that's on autopilot, that just doesn't know. He has a desire, maybe his wife's starting to get better, and he sees his wife on the journey of happiness and getting better and being happy, and he just doesn't know where to start. He's not miserable, but he's lost. He doesn't know who he is or what his purpose is, and he doesn't know where to start. He doesn't have any goals. He doesn't know what his passion is. Nobody's asked him the questions. Nobody's educated him.
And I think it's really hard. I'm not your coach. Like, be honest. How hard is it to be vulnerable with your wife? You need an outsider.
Yeah, you know what? Living with you is, I don't listen to your coaching. I don't take your coaching very well. Mm-hmm. But when it comes from a different party, specifically my coach, who says very close to the same things, I listen 100%.
Yeah. And it's the same with everybody. Like, you're too emotionally involved with somebody. You're too close to it. You need an outsider to give you that support.
Right.
Yeah. Your husband, your wife should not be your coach. They can be your confidant. They could be your support system, but
Counselor.
they don't. Counselor, therapist.
Yeah.
Shit call outer.
Yeah. No, there's definitely conversations that you're more apt to have with somebody that you don't live with.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So this is just for men, right?
Yes.
Obviously not for women. So and men have to fill out the application, not wives for their husbands. I was like,
Yes.
Bryan, you're going to get that. And it's going to be like, can you please speak to my husband? So where do they go? So the Kick Off the Couch session is how long is it? What is it? How do they apply for this?
So Kick Off the Couch session is a 60 to 90 minute conversation that we'll have, and it'll be recorded so that they can get a copy of this afterwards. To apply for this, you go to www.dadisincontrol.com/start.
Awesome. And then once you go there, there's a little application, gives you a little bit more information about this. Fill out the application, hit submit.
Yeah.
And then what happens after you hit submit?
Then the email comes to me and I review it, and then you get a response back with very specific things that you need to do, and the ball is rolling.
Awesome. Yay. And and obviously you're only one person, so it's going to be first come, first serve. So it's a great idea. If someone's interested in this, head on over to dadisincontrol.com/start.
Right. Also,
what?
If you want to refer your husbands over to dadisincontrol.com, they can join the private Facebook group there. Also, that has access to the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you're like, no, I'm not ready for the session, or my husband's not ready for the session, then you can join the Facebook group.
Yeah. And it's free.
Dadisincontrol.com.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else you want to say? So if I want to travel the world for a year with the kids, and you're just like, I want to stay at home with our dogs because you love them too much, then is that okay?
Yeah, do it.
Really?
Yeah.
You would let me?
I would.
What if you want to go travel the world for a year?
What if I wanted to go travel the world for a year?
Oh my God. I don't know. Do you think we'll be together forever?
I think you're stuck with me.
Or do you think there's a season and a reason for every relationship?
I don't really know what that means.
You gotta read more poetry, honey.
Definitely not.
All right. Talk soon, guys.